This is Ethical Empire. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Brendan.
And this week's episode of Offended is about veganism. One of the most often asked questions to vegans is, where do you get your protein? And it often comes off as, where do you get your protein? I mean, like, if I were to go vegan, where would I get my protein from? I mean, only meat has protein. Duh.
Bullshit.
With that being said, actually, there's a lot of greens and a lot of foods that have protein in them. You can get microdoses from things, particularly greens like spinach, or you can get macrodoses like lentils and lima beans and peas. Per every 100 grams, you get 13.1 grams of protein in lentils. That's a large amount.
There is many sources of vegan protein. You can get it from beans, peas, corn, kale, broccoli, mushrooms. The list goes on. But the thing is, meat-based proteins per gram are far less than certain plant-based proteins. And the thing about plant-based proteins is you can get just as diverse of an amino acid profile and get just as much protein per gram as eating meat. Now, the whole issue about complete proteins, there's plenty of plant-based proteins that are complete proteins.
Hemp being one of them.
So just saying that is just a fallacious statement, because chances are you're not even looking into it. I know that I was guilty of that before I went vegan, that I just parroted back the same shit that everybody else did. The thing is, I didn't do my research, which makes me an asshole. And if you're saying that too, then you're a fucking asshole. And the thing is about animal-based proteins is that it's been proven scientifically that animal-based proteins cause cancer. And the fact that we eat such high amounts of animal-based protein is detrimental to our health.
If you really need some clarification, some great documentaries to start with is like Forks Over Knives, Cowspiracy. They might come off in some people's minds as overly swayed to the vegan persuasion, but they are meant for you to gain knowledge. It's not just for you to condemn your own views. You're welcome to keep searching into it. That is what the internet is great for. A lot of people want to bring up the fact that vegans don't get their B12 every day too. It's kind of a fascinating statement because more than just vegans don't get their B12. An overall population of society doesn't get their B12. 40% of Americans don't get their B12 every day. And with that, there's only 7.3 million of us that are really vegans. So that's a very, very small number, being 3.2%. Even if you want to say that all of those vegans,
again, it's just a fallacious statement,
are the ones in the B12 deficiency area, that still leaves a good 160 million people that don't get their B12.
There's plenty of plant-based B12 sources. The thing about animal-based B12 sources is that most of those animals that people that call themselves omnivores eat are herbivorous animals. So the thing is, you're saying that an herbivorous animal can produce B12, that they have to eat it. It's bullshit. It's been speculated that herbivorous animals create B12 in their gut, or that they ingest it from external sources like untreated water or dirt, which they would eat from grass, depending on what animal it is. So there's a significant source of animals that are in factory farms that actually have to take B12 supplements, because even those animals are B12 deficient with the way that we set up society. Chances are you're probably deficient in B12, at least to some degree, because 40% of the US population is a pretty big percentage, so chances are you are deficient, so you should probably take a B12 supplement anyways for health. Side effects of B12 deficiencies can be things from damage to your nervous system, heart problems. There's plenty of vegan sources of B12, and that can be nutritional yeast, nori, and supplements. Other than that, if you do eat animals, you're getting small amounts, but you're depriving your body of so many other nutrients. And eating stuff that has been classified as a type 1 carcinogen, is it really worth it to get your B12 from eating something that will possibly give you cancer?
It's probably best for you to go get a vitamin for B12 and just add it to your daily routine. Most meat eaters, I think another thing that happens a lot with non-vegan or non-vegetarian people is the argument, oh, well, man, I'm like totally sacrificing taste. Like, what do I do? You're not really sacrificing taste. I'm pretty sure you haven't given any vegan dish a try, because a lot of the time we can either make it equate to your meat dish, or we can even make it taste better.
And I know it's just an anecdote, but I said the same shit. I just didn't want to accept that that was an option because I like the taste. And there is like veggie burgers, veggie cheese, veggie ice cream, basically every food that you can pretty much imagine vegans have created in a vegan form. So it's kind of crazy, and I actually prefer it more than the non-vegan forms. And I was a total fat ass. I mean, I'm not fat, but I was a total fat ass, and I ate a lot of meats, cheeses, ice cream, and these veggie forms are perfectly fine. And you can eat more of it because you're not going to have a fucking heart attack from it, more or less, unless you're eating copious amounts of fat. You have to be eating lots and lots of saturated fat. Polyunsaturated fat and monounsaturated fat do not have the same effect on your LDL levels as saturated fat. So unless you're just eating straight up coconut oil or other congealed types of plant-based fats, then you're not gonna have a heart attack. So pretty much you can eat twice as much vegan junk food. I mean, it's your choice. You don't have to eat rabbit food. I mean, some vegans choose to eat rabbit food, like eating raw. I've done it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite thing. I like cooked foods a lot, and you don't have to have a strict diet. I choose to have a strict diet, but you can eat tons of junk food, and it's amazing, if not orgasmic.
With that being said, I agree with him. If you're interested in any of these vegan alternatives, please make a comment. We have probably tested a good 80% of what's out there.
We can leave annotations too.
And we'll be happy to offer you any cues to the best forms of these vegan versions. For a long time, I was just a vegetarian, and one of the hardest things to kick for me was ice cream, because I am a fat ass. I fucking ate pint after pint. But the minute that you start trying new things on that level, you will start to see that it's just as good, if not richer, than actual ice cream. There was many nights where I used to pig out. I know this is anecdotal, but I would eat chips, and I'd eat vegan ice cream. I'd eat vegan pizza. I'd eat the chicken nugget, the fake chicken nuggets. Oh, they're so good. You just like crave it, and you just indulge. And at the end of the night, you're just holding your stomach like, oh God, what did I do to myself? Tomorrow's gonna be a really big one.
There's actually a vegan donut shop close to where we live, and they have very primo donuts.
Oh, not only do they have primo donuts, everything that they make is just amazing. If you live in areas like New York City, these bigger cities, go check out your local vegan restaurants. Like, you can find just about anything vegan almost anywhere you go now. It's a great thing. That 3% of us is really expanding fast.
But basically, all omnivores need certain amino acids that we don't need because we get it from plant-based sources. So, I mean, if you look at most of these omnivorous animals, there's almost no comparison between us and them. You can look at other relatives of humans, meaning apes, and the apes share the most similar qualities, and guess what they are? Ding, ding, ding. They're herbivores, not omnivores. If you look in nature, they eat herbivorous diets. Apes mostly eat dark leafy greens, fruits, and nuts. And you don't see them having B12 deficiencies and protein deficiencies. The only way you can argue against it is if you're not willing to change or misinformed. And you're just basically lying to yourself to try to convince yourself that what you're saying is true. You're just trying to validate opinions that have been put on to you by corporations, which I think it's just plain and obvious that they're trying to deceive you so you buy their products. I mean, that's like the oldest scheme in the books for businessmen, is that tricking people, taking advantage of them, and exploiting them is how they make money. So by lying to you, telling you that you can get all these nutrients and all this bullshit, there's been proof that they have faked studies so they could validate selling their products to people, which the government has challenged them on some of these. I actually watched a video on it recently where the vegans and the government has challenged certain corporations on ignorant statements that they say. But there's even government websites that say that all the traits that we have are herbivorous traits, and that only herbivores can get plaque buildup from cholesterol, because omnivores and carnivores can process the LDL differently. And because they can break it down differently, they have no problem with eating cholesterol-rich food. Herbivores cannot. We also don't have claws. We don't have sharp teeth. We don't have eyes that are very good at seeing at night. All of our traits, the fact that we don't have hinge jaws and that our jaws move sideways to grind up fruits and vegetables, all these traits lead us to believe that we are herbivorous animals and that we just lie to ourselves that we're omnivores. Because you look at something like a bear is an omnivore. A dog is an omnivore. Otters are omnivores. And you can look at the traits of these animals. And the thing about cholesterol is that only herbivorous animals can have atherosclerosis.
So, with this in mind, I have a story for you. It's about a kid that grew up, and he was really fat almost his entire life. When he decided to make the change to a vegetarian diet, he started to lose massive amounts of weight. And this is an anecdote. This is personally about me. At the age of 18, I decided to change my diet from being a constant meat eater to a vegetarian. And at that point in my life, I was around 500 pounds. I was depressed. depressed all the time. I really didn't have much that I felt like I could live for. So from there, I decided to try to put my best foot forward and keep searching for things that really kind of made me happy. And I started doing the research about the conversion of vegetarianism, because even when I was a kid, I wasn't that big of a person who was really into cheese or meat. It was really just the sweet stuff kind of got me. At that level, I ended up kind of breaking meat out of my diet immediately. And about 3 months after doing that, I perked up almost instantly. I was losing weight on a rapid level. I started exercising. I just wanted to live. I wanted to find things that I actually enjoyed in life instead of being depressed and angry and hating everything. And I know it's an anecdote, but for some people that are really heavy or have chronic depression, there are alternatives to medication, one of which is changing your dietary standards. And that might not be something that you want to do, but you should really give it a try, because it could help you on an unbelievable level.
Yeah, and I mean, even going off of that, here's an anecdote about my life and how it changed my life. Is about a year ago, because I've only been vegan for about a year, I ate a meat heavy diet where I ate like ribs, cheeseburgers, fries, ice cream, chocolate, like chocolate cake and stuff like that with like butter, just like tons of fatty foods with tons of saturated fat. And I ate a very, very low fiber diet because I didn't really like eating greens as much. And I hardly even touched fruit my whole entire life. So as I was growing up, I had tons of health problems. Everything from chronic headaches when I was younger to where I had acid reflux starting around when I was like 10 years old. So, which is not normal. A 10-year-old should not have acid reflux. I also had a very acidic pH, which I did get that medically checked out, and they validated to me that I had a very acidic pH. And I was actually prescribed like acid reduction medicine at a young age when I was about 15. I had ulcers in my mouth from eating acidic food all the time. I also at one point had gotten a stomach ulcer when I was about 17, which was incredibly painful. And I also started to develop skin issues too. And in some ways I saw all this and I saw really no light at the end of the tunnel. I just saw it as like I was having all of these issues and I didn't know if I was really ever going to fix them. And then about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was still eating meat, but I started to eat a more plant-based diet. I started to feel great, and some of these issues started to resolve themselves. And about like a year into that, I kind of figured out in some aspects that the meat and the dairy, especially the dairy, was causing some of these issues with my body still. And about a year ago, I went vegan, and after I did that, basically all these health problems went away, and I've been purifying my body ever since. And I basically have none of those issues now. I feel better than I've ever felt my whole entire life, and I don't expect to ever change that because I've seen enough research. I've done research about veganism even before I went vegan almost every single day. I know it sounds obsessive and crazy, but I wanted to make sure that it's a lifestyle that makes a lot of sense. And I just didn't want to go into that being stupid, just accepting veganism as like a religion, basically. I didn't want to be trapped into that and not know what I'm talking about. And everything that I've seen since then, since I've been doing all this research, has done nothing but validate and prove to me, which it doesn't matter. I don't care what other people think about my veganism. People can think whatever I'm saying is bullshit. I don't really care, but it validates to me that it makes the most sense. And everything that I'm saying here makes a lot of fucking sense unless you're just not listening. I had read something about metabolic damage recently where it was talking about people with like bulimia and anorexia, how they can damage their metabolic system from undereating. So me and Kyle have come up with this theory, and I mean, there's no basis for it right now, but it's that things like metabolism are not as much of a thing. It's more of like eating lots and lots of calories and eating lots and lots of saturated fat and like white sugar, which all turn into visceral fat. And the thing is, what I've kind of thought is that if you can cause metabolic damage from being super skinny from undereating, you could probably cause metabolic damage from overeating. So even that notion that people just think that it's just some inherent thing, I feel like if people really open their eyes, there's a light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of people with weight issues in the fact that they can eat a plant-based diet and basically turn their whole life around. And I'll link a video about Dr. McDougall where he was talking about the size of your stomach and calorically like how food fits into it. And basically when you eat meat and cheese, they fit in a very small sliver of your stomach. And because they're so calorie dense, it makes you feel full for about like 2 hours, because I mean that's about how fast it takes for your food to digest for the most part. So it'll break that down in a couple of hours, maybe a little bit longer, but it'll break it down pretty fast, and then you get hungry again. Then you gorge yourself again, eat a lot more food, and you're just eating tons and tons of calorie dense food because you keep on getting hungry because your body wants it. With that being said, the next episode will be about the war on games, and yeah, about those fuckers that think that video games are making people into Jeffrey Dahmer and Adam Lanza shooting up fucking schools and shit. So
you all have a great night.